Welcome to The Explainer. I want you to think about your everyday life for just a second. Have you ever noticed that you've got this uncanny ability to just read a room the absolute second you walk into it? Like maybe you sense that something's off or someone is upset way before anyone's even spoken a single word? Or, perhaps you find yourself constantly overthinking situations, really picking apart tiny details that the people around you never even seem to notice? If any of that resonates with you, you're in exactly the right place.
Think about how other people have described you over the years. Have you ever been labeled as too sensitive? Or maybe people tell you you're just taking things too seriously? Well, society so often frames these traits as weaknesses, right? Like they're just these quirks that you somehow need to fix. Okay, let's dive into this because what we're going to uncover today is going to completely change how you view yourself. We're exploring why this perceived flaw, this deep sensitivity, is actually not a weakness at all. It is, in fact, a profound and highly strategic strength.
So what exactly are we talking about here? It's called traumatic intelligence. This is a very rare kind of intelligence that's quietly built inside you. It was forged through pain, through survival, and through years of learning to protect yourself when literally no one else would. You see, your mind didn't just passively experience those difficult environments, it actively adapted to survive them. It fundamentally rewired itself just to keep you safe. Now, before we go any further into the specific signs, I actually want you to just pause. Just take a breath. What we're about to explore might feel intensely personal. For a lot of us, it might actually feel as though someone is finally putting words to a reality you've felt your entire life, but just never had a proper name for. So take this moment, let the validation wash over you, and stick with me here, because understanding this, it changes everything. All right, let's start breaking this down. Sign number 1, the hypervigilant superpower. Here's the thing. You don't just listen to what people say, you hear what they don't say. You pick up on that microscopic shift in someone's tone of voice, or the subtle way their eyes dart away, or even that tiny half-second pause they take before answering a question. Psychology defines this as hypervigilance. It's essentially a survival response where your mind stays constantly on alert to protect the body from harm. Because when you grow up in an environment where love is unpredictable, or where you literally had to sense danger long before it arrived, your brain trains itself to become a master-level expert in human behavior. It's almost like a Jedi mind trick, but one that was forged out of absolute necessity. So the really crucial takeaway here is that this wasn't an accident. It was a completely necessary defense mechanism born directly from your early environment. And we actually have the data to back this up. Research from the University of California perfectly illustrates this connection. There is a direct, measurable link here. People who experienced an emotionally unstable early environment actually developed a significantly higher sensitivity to nonverbal cues compared to those who grew up in stable environments. As for the folks in those stable environments, well, they just have average sensitivity. Why? Because they simply never needed to read between the lines to stay safe. But you did. What was once your shield has now become your superpower. I really want you to think about the weight of that. The very same hyper-awareness that you had to use as a literal, actual shield to protect yourself as a kid or in past traumatic situations. It is now an incredible asset. It's an unmatched ability to navigate human dynamics. So let's move on and see how this builds into the way you process the world internally.
Which brings us to signs 2 and 3, depth and crisis management.
Your depth of feeling is absolutely not a flaw. You probably feel emotions way deeper than anyone else around you, and that's because, in your past, sometimes emotions were literally the only truth available to you. When you get hurt, it doesn't just sting, it sinks into a profoundly deep place inside you. And honestly, the exact same goes for joy. That fragile, rare happiness you feel, that's the result of a nervous system that simply learned to process everything fully, because you never had the luxury of just being numb. Your environment demanded that you feel and feel completely just to navigate it. You became someone who experiences the world with an intensity that, frankly, most people will never even begin to comprehend.
But then we hit sign number 3, and this is where your intelligence becomes highly actionable. You are a natural problem solver, especially when things go sideways. Let's look at how this plays out. Step 1, things completely fall apart, and everyone around you starts panicking. Step 2, while they panic, something shifts inside of you. You become incredibly calm, cool, and intensely focused. Step 3, while everyone else is stuck on the immediate problem, you are already thinking 3 steps ahead. You aren't just surviving the chaos, you're quietly and effectively managing the whole shebang.
To really wrap our heads around this, let's contrast a traditional classroom with an emotional storm. Your brain has navigated absolute turbulence before. Trauma, especially in its darkest moments, teaches the human mind a level of strategic, high-stakes crisis management that absolutely no traditional classroom ever could. The people around you probably don't even realize just how much you are holding together behind the scenes, mostly because you make it look so incredibly natural.
Now let's look at how this internal processing impacts your external relationships, bringing us to signs 4 and 5, justice and trust. Let's talk about that unshakable sense of justice of yours. When things are unfair, it disturbs you to your absolute core, whether it's happening to you or to a total stranger. Why? Because your pain taught you empathy. You know exactly what it feels like when something wrong happens and nobody steps up to speak. You find it literally impossible to just look away or pretend everything's fine. In your past, your silence at the wrong times taught you the immense value of your own voice. And because of that, something deeply wired inside of you flat out refuses to accept a world where people are marginalized or treated as if they don't matter. Your empathy is fierce, for sure, but it is a direct result of your intelligence.
Which brings us to the fifth, and honestly, perhaps the most important sign of all, the trust paradox. You've got a highly complicated relationship with trust, don't you? You deeply, genuinely want to trust people. You want to let them in. But there's always that quiet little voice asking, is this real? Is this actually going to last? You constantly wonder what will happen when this person changes. Ultimately, your brain demands proof before opening up fully.
Now, what's really fascinating about this distinction is that a lot of people might call your hesitation paranoia, but in reality, it is intelligent self-protection. Your mind developed this mechanism because at some point in your life, trust was broken in a way that left a really profound mark. Your brain, in its infinite wisdom, is simply asking for proof to protect you. It is absolutely not a sign that you're broken. It's a sign that you learned the hard way that your emotional safety absolutely matters.
As we start to wrap up this explainer, let's look at the big picture. Your extraordinary story.
If you've been nodding along to these signs, I want you to know that traumatic intelligence is a very real, well-documented psychological reality. You aren't making this up. Every single piece of this is beautifully shaped by your story, the incredible depth of the things you feel, the highly strategic way you think in a crisis, the full, complete, unnumbed way you experience the entire world. None of these traits came out of thin air. They didn't just appear from nowhere. They were directly forged in the fires of your painful yet incredibly powerful history.
I really want this truth to sink in for a second. You are one of the most emotionally aware human beings in any room you walk into. Your story, no matter how painful certain chapters of it were, has built you into an extraordinary observer of the human condition. That hyper-awareness, that sensitivity that others told you was a flaw? Actually, scratch that. It was never a flaw. It is a massive advantage. It's truly extraordinary.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought to carry with you today. If your hardest, darkest, and most painful moments were capable of building your greatest intelligence, what else are you capable of? Just think about the untapped potential sitting right there inside of you, ready to be utilized not just to survive, but to truly thrive. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Until next time, keep learning and keep recognizing your own extraordinary strengths.